We arrived on Tevat with our sibling in tow till they are taken by the being known as the sustainer of heavenly principles, and we are laid to sleep. Thus our goal is simple, to find our sibling and return home. However, this is where things get complicated. The first person we truly meet on our journey is a creature the mortal world has no identifier to.
This floating child is connected to your body in some way?
We at the corporation have gained some pious curiosity for these kinds of things as of recently, so we thought we would discuss them. In the recent 4.2 update, we get some interesting information, but the most interesting is what we hear of the gnosis origins and Paimon's meta reference. For a while, the community had likened the gnosis as chess pieces, as we see the jester playing chess with someone in which two gnosis are used as pieces on the board. However, we come to learn that they are the remains of the third descender, a ghastly fate to be sure, but it poses a new revelation. Celestia cares not of the Archons, nor descenders.
Of course. How could I forget? You should have the remains of the third descender on your person, yes?
Remains? I've never heard of any such thing.
According to your parlance, I believe it may be called a gnosis.
So long as the gnosis remains intact, they seem not to care about what befalls the owner nor their throne. Also, considering what the Sustainer did to our protagonist, and we learn that the remains of the third descender is the foundation of the gnosis, it's safe to say they don't care about the descenders either. But something to note is that the twin you chose has the ability to resonate and seal elemental energy within themselves, and likewise, it'd be safe to assume that our twin would have similar abilities. However, that twin was imprisoned by the Sustainer and we were placed out of commission. Thus, anything could have happened to them, including death during experimentation, or more likely supposed death by removing her power of elemental absorption. Then her corpse would be discarded in what would soon be known as Khanria.
Likewise, if we look at the Archons, these divine beings have three key tasks. The first is to uphold the stature of the heavenly principles within Tevat. The second is to lead the people of their nation and finally be at the call to arms, should the heavenly principles demand it. But notice the open angle we've been left with. There is no restrictions. Venti guides his people from behind the scenes, using his guise as a bard to blend into society, not putting up any form of fight as his gnosis was taken. Zhongli was able to fake his death and move on in the world without the need to live with his duties as a god. Makoto died, and her sister, her successor, locked herself away within her own mind for centuries, while a false puppet copy walked in her stead. And of course, Rukkhadevata tried to cleanse the forbidden knowledge, leading her to generate a successor from Irminsul, who was locked away as the Academia tried to make their own god. Then there is Focalors, the Archon, that did all of these things combined in a sense with one major spit in the face to Celestia, but also proves my point. A small refresher that explains my point. She created a human figurehead to take up her role as Archon for 500 years, while she, as the true Archon, watched over and guided the people while hiding within the Oratrice Mécanique d'Analyse Cardinale until it was time for her death, which was more of an advanced disappearance act. Yet Furina, the main actor on the stage of deception, still got her vision at the end of it all. Every action, these gods take hold, a small speck of treachery for the heavenly principles. But that wouldn't be in full effect, it seems, without our protagonist there. But the thing is, so long as the gnosis stay intact, there is really no need to care who has them or who uses them. After all, once he gained back his authority, the throne of Archon diminished, and his conversation with Skirk, the gnosis was more of a burden.
Regardless, you should probably get rid of objects of misfortune. to prevent any disasters from befalling you. To live in itself is a blessing. But once a person dies, the bonds he once had with this world shall all turn to curses.
Lastly, what does any of this have to do with us? Are we mere creations by the Sustainer? Or perhaps we are akin to trailblazers of the Astral Express? It's weird, as we have no real need to be tied to the world, and yet are. The goal is to find our sibling, then dip, not help the world. This is shown as when trying to reach Farina, we weren't really concerned with her death, but that we'd get no answers about our sibling. In fact, our sibling cares more about the world than we do. Strange. The usurper is enemy to the dragons, Celestia, enemies to the Fatui, and Archons to an extent, and everyone is an enemy to the Abyss. But our concern is, and always has been, our sibling. But you know, Paimon seems really keen on helping the world, if not just her appetite. Honestly, if you go for the play-by-play of our choices of dialogue, we are giving quite the amount of chances to be in jerk or snarky. And while this may be just my speculations, the rest of these points are things to think about.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe or die.